Buccaneers are going to the Super Bowl. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to the Super Bowl.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new edition of the Cannon Fire Podcast. Back at you today for episode 167. It is our Super Bowl game preview. We're going to be taking a look at this Sunday's game between the Buccaneers and the Chiefs, Super Bowl 55. Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, as always, Rhett Matthew. Joined alongside me, my good buddy and co-host, Philly Bucks fan himself, Mr. Evan Wanish. Evan, how you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing really good. We got a very special guest here and really excited for it.
Oh, I'm so excited. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us today, NFL veteran at fullback, spent some time with the Cowboys, the Colts, the Broncos, inventor of the Ice Shaker. Many people know you from your appearance on Shark Tank. Chris Gronkowski joins the show. How you doing, Chris? Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I'm pumped to be here. I'm a little sweaty. I'm excited about the game, but I just finished a workout too, so I might be dripping a little bit. But appreciate you guys having me on today.
Yeah, absolutely. No worries. I mean, it's always a good time to get a workout in. You know, I should probably get a little more pumping in during the day, but it's all right. So we wanted to get into things and really quickly, I wanted to kind of change things up. We normally kick things off and we give a shout out to our sponsors at Bet Online. I wanted to introduce something new this week and maybe we could have a little bit of fun with it. But it is the Bet Online Prop of the Week, and we'll just kick things right off. Big weekend for your brother Rob playing this Sunday in the Super Bowl. The over-under for his receiving yards, 29.5. And, I don't know about you guys. I know we've talked about how Rob Gronkowski has kind of taken a little bit more of a blocker role throughout the playoffs, but I think this is a great week to take the over. I think that TB12 to Rob Gronkowski connection in the Super Bowl is just going to be a sight to see. I like the over here, but 29.5, what are you thinking, Chris? You might be a little biased on this one.
Man, yes, man. He always shows up in the big games for one big play at least. So it seems like when Tom really needs him, he hits that big one down the sideline. So that's a guaranteed 30-yard catch right there. So I think, they've definitely been using him more in the blocking role, but that builds up and builds up and builds up, and then that play action is wide open. So I'm expecting to see a couple big plays.
What you think, Evan? You taking the over?
Yeah, I am. The one time that Rob Gronkowski got over 100 yards this year was actually against the Chiefs. So I think he's going to do some damage to their linebackers and their safety. So, yeah, I'm going to hammer the over there, too.
Yeah, absolutely. Big week for the tight ends, but of course for Rob in particular. By the way, if you're looking at any other bets for the game, make sure you check out our friends betonline.ag. From game spreads and totals to team, player, and coaching props, BetOnline gives you more options to wager than any other place online. And of course, they've always got the online casino, which never closes. So head over to betonline.ag today and take advantage of all the great sign-up bonuses. BetOnline, your online sportsbook expert. So Chris, let's jump into what you've been doing lately, my friend. I know you've been staying busy. I see your Instagram. You got a whole lot of content coming out, and you guys are working really hard between stuff with Ice Shaker and, of course, your fitness program. So what have you been doing lately? How you doing?
Man, I've been good. It's been an exciting season for me, man. Just a crazy year. Things that have never happened before are happening. And one of them is, bro coming out of retirement, going to a whole new team, whole new system, no offseason, and making it to the Super Bowl. It's kind of like the Super Bowl that should have never happened, man. So it's kind of a second chance at this. And I'm pumped, man, because once you step away from the game, you respect it so much more. And I think that's where he's at as well. So this is really something super special for him.
Yeah, and I did want to bring up, so you were asked by TMZ, I believe, earlier, way before the trade even happened. And they said, is your brother going to come out of retirement? And you didn't think so. So I want to know, did you know Did you find out when we all did about the trade? Did you know a couple days beforehand? And what was your initial reaction to set, like your brother, he's back in the NFL?
Yeah, so man, I didn't think it was going to happen because it's a tough game, man. When I retired, it was the first time I slept in years. Just so much stress off your shoulders, and he had so many injuries that he was battling, and he was still hurting. We did something called Stadium Blitz. It was actually in Tampa. Was our last one in 2019, and he just wasn't there yet. When we went out there, I was crushing him out there. And this is a guy who plays every snap in an NFL game and has endurance like I've never seen before. And I'm smoking him in an obstacle course race, and his body just wasn't right yet. So I didn't think he was going to come back. But the truth is he was still one of the best at his position. That fire was still burning, and I think that what if would have always been there if he didn't come back. So I was surprised by it, just because I know when I retired, it was a whole different world for me, and it was very hard for me to get back into it. At the age of 26. So at age 30, once you give that up, you step away, you realize that there's a lot more left, especially outside of football, especially for him. He was doing shows, he was commentating on TV. I mean, money was never an issue, and the lack of things to do was never an issue as well. So he turned down a lot to go back, and I don't even know, he might have been making more off the field. So huge decision for him, and I'm glad he did, and I think he's going to be proud of himself for the rest of life for the decision that he made.
Oh yeah, and I mean it's definitely benefited the Bucs up until this point as well. He has been just such a pleasant surprise on this roster, because I'm sure that you had seen it or heard of it. Before he had come back, a lot of people were questioning, well, what kind of shape is he in? Because there's a huge difference between being in shape and being in football shape. And, for Gronk to kind of come back and have the season that he has put a lot of jaws on the floor this season, simply because he's just doing things that, it's hard to call it vintage Gronk because we're seeing it still in 2020, but he is doing things that, people just didn't expect him to be able to do this season. And I mean, the testament of how he was able to get his body prepared, and I guess the kind of shape that he stayed in, or whatever he did to get to where he needed to be, it's definitely working.
Yeah, no, it's a whole different approach now, and he's all about taking care of himself. And people see him as Party Gronk. That's not really the case anymore. He likes to have fun, but at the same time, he's going to take care of himself. Massages almost daily. He's doing treatments all the time. He's working out or doing some kind of core exercise or something every day. So he knows how to take care of himself, and they're also giving him the freedom to take care of himself this year, which he just didn't have before. Yeah. He was forced to play through injuries. He was forced to be on the field every practice. And that doesn't always work for players. I mean, I played in 4 different organizations actually, and the vets always got a little bit of a break because you need to, man. Your body just can't handle it at that age anymore, like you can when you're 20. So you just start to break down, and sometimes you need a break. And if you know what you're doing and you know how to take care of yourself and you're a professional about it, you should have the ability to do that. And so that's what he's really benefiting from this year as well. And you could see it show up in his play as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, something that's remarkable to me is, we talk about a guy that's been, you said battling injuries. He hasn't been inactive for a single game this year, right? He's been active and he's played in every single game. And I remember him mentioning something about his arm sleeve. Everybody thinks of him with the big, the big black arm sleeve or whatever with the padding and stuff, that brace. And he doesn't have that anymore because he said he doesn't really need to. And I mean, what do you think he's done differently to really get himself in football shape? Because I'm sure this all happened very quickly, right? When Tom Brady, I think that was obviously a big factor. Tom Brady going to the right situation and, things falling into place. What do you think he did to get himself in football shape and be able to get ready?
Yeah, that's tough to do, but when he retired, he went through this whole phase of just trying to clean himself up, like clean out his body, really take care of it, detox, do whatever he could to get himself back. So he did a great job. He lost a bunch of weight, and people kind of went crazy about it. But what he was doing was just trying to take care of himself, get all the inflammation out, and rebuild. And that's all he was trying to do: lose it, get everything out that he didn't want in his body, and just kind of rebuild it in the healthiest way that he possibly could. So that was his game plan. It worked. He lost a ton of weight. He built it all back. He built back the muscle, the strength, and he was ready to go. So I think that was huge. But getting into football shape is tough, man, especially when there's no off season. That's the hardest thing to do. You don't push yourself that hard, no matter who you are, who you're training with. When you get back on the field, it's completely different because you have the nerves you have the adrenaline rush, and that pushes you so much harder than anything else can in training. So you saw it early on. It took a little bit to get back to where he got to, maybe 3, 4, 5 games, and then he was back in shape. So you saw that, I think, with a lot of guys over the off season. Just without a preseason, it's tough to get back into that football shape.
Do you think this shows the value of preseason?
Absolutely. That, and also just learning a playbook. You saw that too. They came out and they just weren't on the same page, and they weren't on the same page almost up until the bye week. It almost seemed like, where there was still a lot of mistakes being made. People were calling out Brady, but anyone who knows football could see that they just weren't on the same page. He wasn't overthrowing the ball; he was just throwing a route that wasn't being run because the receivers weren't reading it the same way he was. So that's huge. Preseason's huge. Having actual competitors to go against changes the game, changes the looks, changes the defense, and you're doing that all on the fly, man. I mean, when you have a blitz come at you, you can't really simulate that with no defense. So it's a split-second decision, and it's a lot of timing, and you just don't get that down until you actually go play in a real game.
And I think, you kind of brought up just everybody being on the same page. It's something else that we take away from this Bucs team this year. And, Tom Brady's ability to kind of get these guys where they are. I mean, a Super Bowl appearance in year one, when you're learning a new playbook, learning a new head coach, new system, you're getting accustomed to new teammates. And then you stack on top of all of that, no OTAs, no preseason, no training camp. So it definitely does kind of, just take a hit on these guys as far as what they're able to do chemistry-wise on offense. And so for them to be in this position is definitely a statement of this team. I wanted to get a quick question from you. We had actually heard a story this week during, one of the media days for the Super Bowl. Gronk had talked about how he had basically cheated the system with the at-home sprints. Kind of took advantage of the freedom they gave, and he's changing shirts. And listen, I would do the same thing. I think everybody and their mom would do the same thing, because I'm sure sprints are awful, especially when you got to do them at home. But I wanted to ask, do you have any good stories of a similar nature, from you and Rob over the years past, maybe his time in New England, or even, just you guys growing up back when you were younger before you were playing ball?
Yeah, that was a good story. So we had to get that cleared up too, because I didn't necessarily believe it, because he doesn't really take days off. So he kind of cleared it up a little bit. He definitely, might have cheated it a little bit, but he said that he did it because he didn't feel like filming every day. And it just becomes kind of a nuisance. So he was like, let's just film all these in one day, and then send them all over as the day comes at the same time. So, he likes to work out at different times. He had different things going on, and they were trying to get him to send it over, I think, at noon every day. So he had to, he played it smart, I guess is what he did, and was able to send it over. Some good stories, man. I don't know anything like that crazy, but just training wise, it was always like that for us growing up. We just, everything was a challenge, man. Everything had to be a one up on the other brother. So if we won in a 40-yard dash, it was a rematch every single time. And I loved playing with him in college, and I wish I had a chance to play with him in the pros, because you just push yourself so much harder when you're going against your brothers. There's only one, there's no one you could really impress more than your own family, especially in the film room. So like during games, when we had a big play, we'd kind of like tap each other, because I was playing like an H-back look, so I'd line up a lot next to him. But after a big hit, big play, anything like that, we go right back to the huddle and be like, hey, wait till film room on that one. And we just pick up during the game too. So I love playing with him, man. It just took me to a whole new level, and just wish I had that opportunity at the next level as well.
So obviously, there's a pretty big football game this Sunday. You're going down to Tampa, and I believe you're pretty big on TikTok, and I believe you've gotten a question on TikTok about just how Super Bowl tickets work. But this year it was a little bit different. Could you explain that a little bit?
Yeah. So normally, what they do is, whatever the teams that are in it, they get 2 free tickets. After that, you have the option to buy 13 of them at face value. So I know 2 years ago when we went to the Super Bowl, that was $2,500 a ticket. So if you have a nice family, they'll pay you back for it. So the players they're forking out that money. So it's a pretty big chunk of money. I know people don't think that's a big deal for someone like Rob, but just my personal preference, I always pay him back, man, because I don't feel like it's a responsibility to pay for my ticket. But this year it had to get cut back because of COVID. I believe there's only 1,500 or 15,000 tickets available, and then they gave another 7,500. I think the first line workers, I believe, is what it is. So with that, they cut it down to 8, I believe, is what it came out to, and they're all upper decks, man. So they're all in the 300 as well. So I heard rain, and it's going to be fun for sure, but completely different. What's rough is like you also can't go on the field. After they won the Super Bowls, one of the coolest things is going on the field. Doing snow angels in the confetti.
Yeah.
Taking some cool pics with the fam, and that's just not going to happen this year.
Have you been to any games this year, or is this going to be your first time in Raymond James Stadium?
So this will be my second game. I went to I'm good luck. I'm telling you right now, because I went to the Green Bay game.
There we go.
Okay. So you can't blame a loss on me if I show up, man. I'm charmed on this one. So one game that was it. I used to go to all the games, but 3 kids later and a couple businesses, and it's not as easy to get to games anymore.
Yeah. Now, looking back at this past season, and I guess we kind of, highlight the season that Rob has had, is there any moment that sticks out to you a little bit more than the next? Like maybe, that first big catch where everybody was like, wow, he's back. Were there any moments like that just kind of stuck out to you from this past season?
Yeah, I think a couple. I know he caught a pass down the middle, and after the game, I was like, man, he's looking fast. But it came out after the game that he was hitting speeds that he hadn't hit since 2016, I think is what one of the reporters reported. And I was like, yeah, it looked like he was running fast. So I think that was one of the moments where, kind of his conditioning came back, and he was motoring, looked good, was moving fast. And then, I think a big moment for them was the bye week. I think that was a huge turning point for the team. I think that's when Bruce Arians really just gave the reins over to Tom, and the offense really changed at that point as well. So that's not really Rob as much, but I think that also gave them a chance to get healthy too. And man, ever since that bye week, it's just been a different team.
Yeah, so you talk about that bye week, and obviously over the bye week, a lot of preparation, and then basically the Bucs have had just another bye week now with the week leading up to the Super Bowl. Is there any sort of, I know every player is different, is there any sort of routine that Rob has done before these Super Bowls? I believe this is going to be his 6th one. Is there any different routine that he's done differently from the regular season? Because, it's playoff time. You got to, it's crunch time. So is there anything different that he does, or any sort of superstition?
Man, so I haven't seen anything that he's done. I know he came on our YouTube channel the other day, and someone asked him, and his ritual is eating a peanut butter jelly sandwich and chocolate milk before
there you go.
That's his go-to, man. And hey, it sounds like a pretty good meal to me.
Oh yeah. Now, we've talked a little bit about the game this weekend, but I want to go a little more in depth and kind of get your thoughts about what kind of game you think this is going to be. Everybody looks at the bill. You got the Buccaneers and the Chiefs, 2 very high-powered offenses, a couple of quarterbacks that do not make mistakes, and they're definitely going to get the job done when they need it the most. A lot of people say shootout. I think this is a game that'll ultimately be decided by how the Bucs defense shows up and attacks. But what kind of game do you think we have in store, and do you think it's a big day for Rob?
Man, I always think big games are usually lower scoring than people think.
Yeah.
Just because you have that extra week to prepare. They've seen each other before as well, and usually the second time around, you kind of know what's coming. So the defense is usually prepared for it, and it's harder to kind of do these gimmick plays or really switch up an offense to really trick people. So usually it's a little bit lower scoring, but with these two, I can't tell, man. Last time every time really they go against each other, it's usually a pretty high scoring game. So I think that's probably going to be what ends up happening as well. So I'm thinking shootout, man. As big of a game it is, I'm still thinking shootout. And even with 2 weeks to prepare for it, they're just too powerful. Both teams are just too powerful to me. Rob-wise, I think it's tough to tell, but I think it's going to be a couple big plays. He's kind of found that great spot where he's blocking. Everyone knows he's blocking, and then you can't prepare for it. You can't prepare for that play action out of nowhere, out of play that he 5 times earlier in the game. And then all of a sudden he's breaking down the field, down the middle, off play action. So I think that will happen a couple times in the game. But the team's just so talented, man, that he's going to play his role. If he's not the go-to guy, he's going to do what he has to do to win the game.
Yeah, actually, just like you said, even a quiet day versus Green Bay last week, he had that 29-yard screen, which was a really big play. So, I mean, just like you said, with the big plays when it matters is really his forte. Actually, the only time Patrick Mahomes has lost a playoff game was to Tom Brady and Rob when Rob and Gronkowski sort of dominated on that final drive. So he's historically had some pretty good success against Kansas City, and hopefully he'll be able to replicate it. So, I mean, what do you think the biggest thing for this offense is? What is the biggest key? Is it maintaining a balance? Is it, obviously playing turnover free is a must, I think, in any big game. But, what do you think is going to be the biggest X factor for this offense?
Man, I still, and I've been saying this kind of all year, the running backs, they got to get more involved, and this kind of been Brady's forte, man, hitting the running backs out of the backfield. And they got to make the catches, man. I know their hands have been a little suspect. I'm hoping they're hitting the jugs machine this week. I think that's big, especially in a tight game when defenses are ready. It's very hard to prepare for a good running back out of the backfield because you're putting a linebacker on them. A good running back should beat a linebacker every time one-on-one, and that's kind of been the specialty for Brady throughout the years. I mean, you saw it in games when they went against the Seahawks in the Super Bowl where James White had like 14 catches in one game.
Yeah.
And that's just a game changer, man. When you can't cover that, when you're not prepared for that, that's huge. So I think that plays a role. I think that Brady just getting the ball out of his hands faster, which he's been doing, is big. I think early on in the offense at first was more geared towards holding the ball a little bit too long. And when you have a 43-year-old quarterback, you can't take a hit, you can't hold the ball. So I think we'll see a lot of quick passes and just a little bit more out of the run game and then a lot more out of, the running backs out of the backfield.
Now, when you look at the tail of the tape for these two offenses, specifically at the tight end position, on one side for the Bucs, of course, you've got Rob Gronkowski. I think you got a couple of future Hall of Famers here, but on the other side, you've got Travis Kelce as well. What do you make of Travis Kelce and the way that he plays the game? Because, any tight end that wears number 87, there's going to be those comparisons. But I think, I think the tight ends in particular is a matchup this week that everybody is just excited to talk about because both of these guys can absolutely wreck a game on offense if a team's not prepared.
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Travis is unreal, man. So amazing player as well. I think Hall of Famer as well. He's gonna have a good day, I'm sure. He always does. But what I've seen historically is it seems like the defenses on teams that Rob plays for are prepared for it, and I think it's because they go against Rob in preseason. I think they go against him all year long, and it's a bigger body, a talented athlete, and they have to go against Rob all year, so they're ready for it. So that's kind of what I've seen is that the linebackers and the cover safeties and whoever they put on them usually do pretty well because they're used to a talented guy going against. So I think Rob gives them a really good look throughout the year, and it really helps them in the game as well. So it seems like he doesn't usually have that big of a game against any of the teams that Rob's on.
Bucks cornerback Sean Murphy-Bunting was actually on another podcast last week, and they had asked him that same question about, you're in practice and you have to cover Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, Rob Gronkowski. Like, how physical does it get? How handsy do you have to get at the line? And I think that's just a benefit that these guys have had in the secondary all season. When you're working with, a specimen of guys who can catch the ball, it's definitely not a below average group for the Bucs is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I definitely think that's an advantage that comes in for the Buccaneers, especially those guys and how to handle a big physical guy like Travis Kelce. Evan, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Yeah, well, I mean, just to speak to your point, in practice, especially when you got a guy like Tom Brady throwing the ball, it's not just some average quarterback.
Yeah.
It's one of the best to ever do it. But I wanted to ask you a few more questions before we let you go here. So Tom Brady, obviously, you've known him for years, I'm sure. One of, it's been documented. It's one of the best, I think, QB tight end connections in NFL history. They're up there in all the record books as far as passing/receiving touchdowns together. And in the playoffs, they've even done more magic. So, what is your takeaway from just Tom Brady that seems like a different breed than everybody else? He seems like, he's He's always prepared. It seems like nothing surprises him anymore. And I mean, he's played 21 years in the NFL, but what do you think of his methods and sort of like his preparedness for every big game? I mean, he said he's been getting it at 6:15 a.m. every morning because he's trying to get so prepared, and he's been in a house by himself. So, what do you think is the biggest his preparedness, and how does it stack up to other players?
You can't outwork that guy, man. It's insanity. I mean, his entire life evolves around being in the best shape that he can and being the most prepared and best quarterback in the world. So 21 years is huge, man. It takes so much time to really understand the game. And I think a great comparison is people ask all the time, like, how does Tony Romo know what play is coming? Mm-hmm. And you think about it, Tony's, I don't know how many years he got to, but I think it was about 10. And he's watching film and he's able to call out plays. Now, take that and times it by 2. And, that's the knowledge that Brady has. He already knows what defense is being run. You can't trick him. The knowledge is insane. And he's been doing it for so long, doing it at a high level. And the physical abilities are still there. There's absolutely no sign of him slowing down at all. It's unbelievable to watch. But I think when you dedicate every single ounce of your life to something, you're going to do some magic. And that's what he's done. And huge props to him, man. I mean, just reading what he eats and like the stuff that he does, I'm just sitting there like, dude, I don't know how you do it. How do you not eat any sugar or you eat guacamole or avocado ice cream? It's like, man, but that's the dedication. I mean, I'm 34 now. He's almost 10 years older than me. And, I couldn't imagine getting hit by one of those 300-pound linemen. There was times when I was in my 20s and, I cut block a 330-pound lineman and he falls directly on my back. And, man, that hurts bad. Like, that really hurts. And at age 43, I can't even imagine what that feels like to get blindsided or thrown on your back or fallen on multiple times in a game. So he's doing some really, really cool things, unheard of stuff. And for him to go to a whole new team and do it again, it just proves that he's going to go down as the best to ever do it.
Have you or Rob ever tried the avocado ice cream?
I haven't, man. I want to, but have you tried it? Anyone tried it?
No, I have not. Honestly, I don't plan on it, if you want me honest with you.
So one more question for you about TB12. You kind of talked about, he is just a specimen. And I mean, I would ask you if you think he's going to play past 45 like he had mentioned the other day, but I feel like the answer there is an easy yes, just because the guy has no signs of slowing down. But, have you gotten a chance to talk to Tom at all this past season or even in passing, heard what he's told Rob? Basically, have you gotten any feedback about, just how he's taken this year or any feedback on his time in Tampa Bay thus far?
Man, no. So Tom's super private. So I've actually never met him outside the locker room before.
Oh, wow.
My brother Glenn played with them, so he's met Tom a few times. But me personally, my brother Dan played with him as well, but I haven't actually ever seen Tom outside of the football field ever. So super private. I mean, I know Rob hangs out with him all the time, and just seeing him over the years, I mean, there's so much more relaxed and laid back, and just the interviews and stuff like that. It's definitely a different feeling for sure. And I think they're just having a lot more fun with it. I mean, the Gronky and Tom show was hilarious. I was rewatching it the other day and I was just dying laughing when they're talking about the rings and what's your favorite ring? And Rob's just cracking up and making Giselle jokes and stuff. And I'm like, man, this is, you would never see this in New England. So I think they're just really enjoying it.
Yeah. And then before we let you go, do you have a prediction for us for the big game here?
Man, I don't know. I was originally predicting low score when I was predicting some scores, but I think it's going to get up there. Something like a 31-28 game. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to come down to last play, kind of that last series, and because with both quarterbacks, you never know what's going to happen in that last series. So
right,
whoever ends with the ball is probably going to end up winning the game. Is what I'm thinking.
All right. So, I mean, I think you're probably going to give the benefit of the doubt to your brother, but hopefully Rob can make some big plays. It's seems like every Super Bowl, no matter what, right? If he's injured or not, having a down year or not, whatever. I remember in that Rams game, right, the last game before he retired, really quiet, right? It was kind of a boring game, real low scoring, like you were saying. But the one big play was Brady's pass down to the goal line with Gronkowski. He made a fantastic catch. So he always seems to show up. And I think if Tom does get the final drive, I think you'll be seeing a lot of Gronkowski then too.
Yeah, I'm pumped, man. I'm pumped. And one last thing I want to hit on too, for all the fans listening, I know this was pretty big for Rob throughout the years, just all the support from the fans. He wanted to do a big giveaway. So I don't know if you guys saw it. He has the Super 6 giveaway going on. He's out signed gear, gloves and cleats from the year, 75-inch TV, $1,000 gift card to Topgolf, Buffalo Wild Wings, but a couple signed jerseys as well. So he's throwing that out there, free. Just go to the website, gronknation.com, and just sign up for it. And it's 6 days of giving, so pretty cool. But he just wanted to put that on to thank all his fans from all the years, and then comes out of retirement and goes to a whole new team and still has the backing of the fans. So he's super appreciative of it. Once you leave the game, you really respect the fans even more. So he definitely wanted to share that love with everyone. So check that out if you haven't had a chance yet.
Yeah, and also check out Ice Shaker, guys, which my page Bucks Daily was able to partner with on a giveaway. They Ice Shaker had partnered with TB12 Sports, and they made this really awesome product. The Brady / Gronk We Ain't Done Yet, or it's
still here.
Yeah, exactly. It was an awesome product. So go ahead and check out Ice Shaker. Where can they find you, Chris? I know, like I said, you're on TikTok, you're on Instagram. Where else can the people find you?
Yeah, for sure, man. So at Chris Gronkowski, TikTok, Instagram. I joined the Bucks Facebook group as well. So I'm in there. I post every once in a while in there, doing push-ups with the kids and stuff after every touchdown. But I'm all over the place. I'd like to talk about kind of some of the behind the scenes of football as well. So you might have seen some of those posts. But love engaging, love interacting with the fans. And please check me out, leave a comment. I answer a ton of questions on there too. So feel free to drop some questions. I'd love to answer them.
Hell yeah. Chris, thank you so much for jumping on the show with us, man. Really looking forward to the game this weekend, and it was a pleasure talking with you. Good to hear from you, my friend.
Thanks so much, guys. Let's go Bucks.
Yes, sir.
Go
Bucks. Ladies and gentlemen, when we come back, we're going to wrap up our game preview. We'll go into detail about what the Bucks are going to need to do this Sunday to hopefully come out with their second franchise Lombardi trophy. It's Cannon Fire Podcast. Rhett Matthew and Evan Wanish. Don't go anywhere. We'll talk to you here shortly.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers from the 48-yard line. Second down, 13. Brady lobs one downfield. Caught ball by Gronkowski inside the 20 to the 15-10. Gronkowski to the 5 to the 4-yard line. Holy guacamole.
Third down, 18. Dropping Gannon, looking Gannon. Those up the middle. It's intercepted at the 40. Derek Brooks 30. Brooks to the 25, 20. Derek Brooks all the way. There it is. The dagger's in. We're going to win the Super Bowl. Super Bowl, baby!
This is the Big Nasty. Yeah, Big Nasty, Hall of Fame Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan, baby.
This is Mike Allstott, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you're listening to the Cannon Fire Podcast.
Cannon Fire Podcast, brother. You ain't listening, and you're missing out. Woo!
Welcome back to the Cannon Fire Podcast as we continue episode 167. It is our Super Bowl game preview show. We just wrapped up our conversation with NFL veteran, founder of the Ice Shaker, and brother of Rob, Chris Gronkowski. Hoping to have him on sometime back in the offseason. It was a great conversation. And Evan, I got to give you your props where it's due. Good job on booking Chris Gronkowski for us.
Yeah, it was awesome to have him on. Like I said, the fan page did a collab with his Ice Shaker brand, and it was a great product. And like I suggest you guys go ahead and check it out. It's I believe it's just at Ice Shaker on Instagram. It's really awesome. They sell some awesome stuff. It's not just like random just products. It's some Buck stuff as well because Rob's with the Bucks now. So yeah, and they had a limited edition partnership with TB12, so I was able to collab with them on that. And yeah, it was a good time, and yeah, thanks a lot to Chris for joining us and gave us some pretty good insight on what it's like, sort of behind the scenes a little bit, and some things that not a lot of guests can give us. So
oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, he talked to us a little bit off the air, let us in on some pretty cool stuff that Ice Shaker has in the works if Gronkowski sticks around with Tampa Bay for another year, which at this point, I think it's a pretty safe bet. So keep an eye out for that. But let's go ahead and get into our game preview. There's a lot to talk about. Super Bowl 55, the biggest game the Buccaneers have played in the history of this show. Biggest game they've played since all the way back in 2003 when they made their first Super Bowl appearance. Well, they're going to do it this week. And they're the first ever home team in the Super Bowl. I want to get your 2 cents on something that has had people up in arms this week. And something that truly I don't really think is that big of a deal. But, we found out the verdict of the Cannons this week. And the Cannons will not fire during the game. But here's the kicker. Here's what got me. They pick Raymond James, they talk about the pirate ship, and they're so excited to show off all the fancy things that it can do, like shooting air cannons. But then they don't allow the cannons to fire. And listen, I'm not mad about the cannons not firing during the game. Like, I understand, I understand a neutral site. I get it. But what pissed me off and pushed me over the edge is that they elected to play a pre-recorded sound effect of the cannons going off while the team takes the field. Again, neutral site, I get it. And in my opinion, I don't think it's that big of a deal that they can't be fired during the game. But when you're bringing the team onto the field, I mean, why? That's the showcase of Raymond James Stadium. Like, every time WrestleMania is here, since it's going to be here 2 years in a row, they theme it around the pirate ship. And yeah, pirates, yeah. First ever home team Super Bowl, and you're not going to let them use the one thing that they have to themselves in the stadium? Like, the real thing, like a recording of it, if you want to fire it before and after the game, cool. I'm totally fine with that. I think they should have to earn it to be Super Bowl champions. But why not just use the real damn thing?
Yeah, I agree. I think that though the Bucs did push for it, but unfortunately, I understand that the neutral site thing. Everybody, the Bucs are the designated home team, and it's in Tampa. It's still, it has to be a neutral site.
It doesn't mean it's a Bucs game.
Yeah, this isn't a Bucs home game. Like, this isn't, the Bucs do not have 9 home games this year. If it was if this wasn't the Super Bowl, sure. If it was, the NFC Championship game, then yeah, it's a home game. But this is not, like, the Bucs logo ain't going to be at midfield. It's going to be the NFL logo. So there's going to be a Chiefs logo on the other side of this,
Well, it caught me off guard a little bit, too, just because I know that they, dress up the outside of the stadium. And I was driving home from work the other day. I turned on a Dale Mabry and verbally in my truck, I'm like, what the hell? Because I look over and there's a 50-foot banner on the side of Raymond James that says Chiefs Kingdom. And it is a little weird. It is a little jarring. And I'll be honest with you, I wish that for the first home team in history, they could have, maybe made it a little bit more of a home game. I do think the Bucs earned that right. But, I at the same time, I can understand the neutral site thing.
It's just chance, man. It's just so happened that the year that Tampa was hosting the Super Bowl, the Bucs made it.
It's so funny because, that's the way that everybody in that front office looked at it, too. For the past 55 years, they're like, all right, well, we got a 1 in 32 chance that we're going to have to maybe make some arrangements here. So let's just kind of cross our fingers. And it only took 50-plus years for them to get to that point. But
so the issue I have is with the pregame thing, the recording. Like, there's no reason the cans can't go off. If I'm sure the Bucs are really pushing right now that if they win the Super Bowl post game, just let them rip.
Yeah, baby.
I think the Bucs. I don't have an inside source or anything on that, but I think the Bucs are probably pushing right now that, hey, all right, whatever, we can use your pre-recorded bull crap before the game and the pregame intros and stuff, because the entire team will get introduced.
Yeah.
So that'll be that. But then once they, if they win on the post game, this whole celebration, just let them go, right? Don't do no pre-recording thing. Not with the ship right there.
Exactly.
Like, come
That's
on.
the thing. Like, if you're looking
it's
at
right
it,
there.
You know what I mean?
It's not even like they take it down or whatever. It stays up.
It's not like it's the Super Bowl in Orlando and they can't bring the ship with them. It's literally sitting right there, cannons ready to go.
I think that's a lot of people's gripe. But yeah, I get the neutral site thing. I just don't get why it has to be a sound system boombox type.
Yeah.
And I do think that if they win, I think the Bucs are really going to push hard. They push hard to keep the cannons in regardless.
Oh, yeah.
So I think if they win, they're going to push hard to let the actual cannons fire.
So we're going to take a quick look at the latest injury report.
Also,
tell you who's going to be in and out this week.
I think I want the Bucs to win just so I can see Devin White actually on the horse.
Oh my God, dude! So yeah, Jane Castor, mayor of Tampa, actually came out. She responded to not only a comment she made back when the Bucs signed Tom Brady, but Devin White's request to ride his horse around the stadium if they win the game. She is saying that she'll actually consider naming the city Tampa Bay or Tampa. I'm assuming for a limited time, but I'll be cool with you, dude. Like, I'd be okay with that for like a week or two. And then maybe after that it gets a little bit old. But I mean, goddamn, Tom Brady comes here and you just get a Super Bowl. You just get a Stanley Cup.
In your first year.
Build the man a statue at every major intersection in downtown and name the city after him for a week or two. I do not care. If he gets this done for us, which I think you and I both have a pretty good feeling they might get it done. But I would have no problem with that whatsoever.
He'll be, I mean, and,
the TB12 Buccaneers.
Ring of Honor and stuff. He'll be in it, and like I still think he'll have to win the Super Bowl. I think to get in the Ring of Honor. I don't think if he doesn't win the Super Bowl, I don't think he'll be in the Ring of Honor. But if he wins the Super Bowl, he'll definitely be inducted in the Ring of Honor. And I mean, if he wins the Super Bowl, what if he wins it like this year and next year? Then the Bucs, he's talking about retiring his number and stuff. So I mean, whatever. That's crazy. But yeah, Devin White, I would love to see the horse. That would just be. Yeah, that would be one of the most unique celebrations there is. Just to see this dude in full football pads, right? Just riding a horse around a football field. I mean, the only thing I could think of is maybe the horse would tear up the field.
Right.
That's the only concern, I think, and like for the safety of the horse, maybe. How would the horse react to all those people around it and stuff? Yeah. But I mean, it would be a fun thing. But anyways, nonetheless, let's get into the preview, which actually we do have a brand new injury report right here. So
okay, let's go ahead and go over it. You've got it in front of you. If you want to kind of rally off the names there, we'll get through this.
Yeah. So just released. Cameron Brate was popped up on the injury report with a back injury, limited participation. Antonio Brown was upgraded from with a knee injury, limited to full. So safe to say that he's going to be good to go.
Yes, sir.
Levante David, the hamstring, was limited participation again today. We talked about it before the show. He's not missing the Super Bowl, guys.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys on that roster who are going to be hard to keep on the bench if they can't play, and Levante is definitely number one on that list. He's going to be playing.
Mike Evans with a knee injury, full today after being full yesterday. Chris Godwin, elbow, full today after being full yesterday. Steve McClendon, not injury related, did not participate. He'll be fine. Jason Pierre-Paul, his knee did not participate on Wednesday, was limited participation on Thursday.
Wow.
And then Jordan,
I know, right? First postseason practice.
I know that I think it is. That might be his first practice since like week 12. Jordan Whitehead, shoulder, limited participation today. And Antoine Winfield, ankle, limited participation today. On the Chiefs, there's nothing changed. So it's been the same thing. Eric Fisher and Willie Gay are the only ones that did not participate, and they're likely to be ruled out. So
here we go. Now, looking at that Bucs injury report as we kind of close it out, there were really only 4 names that a lot of people were concerned about, and that's just because they didn't practice at all last week, and a lot of those were, practice scenarios, not so much an official practice report. But those 4, Antonio Brown, Jordan Whitehead, Antoine Winfield Jr., and of course, Levante David. After the latest injury report, I think we can solemnly say that we'll see all of those guys dress and at least give it a go.
Yeah, they're not missing the game. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Especially a guy like Levante David. So yeah, it's not going to happen. It's just Jordan Whitehead, maybe we'll see, because that's a fresh injury, right? Antoine Winfield didn't play, so he had time to rest, and Antonio Brown didn't play, so he had time to rest. So Jordan Whitehead, maybe we'll see, but I think all those guys are going to play. Everybody on the Bucs injury report should play, and it's obviously a big advantage. I think, guys, even when they're not healthy, right? I mean, we just talked with Chris about how Rob Gronkowski for a while there was not healthy, and in that Super Bowl versus the Rams, he just really wasn't healthy, but he still played anyway. So guys really like to push through things, and I think all of them are going to push through it just fine.
Absolutely. As we kind of unravel this game preview, I want to transition and talk about the Chiefs' offensive line, which has been a huge topic because a lot of people talk about how do you slow down this Chiefs team. The way that they've been rolling these past 2 years, they are definitely the team to beat in the NFL. Where you take a look at where they're going to be hit the worst this Sunday, that offensive line position. You brought up left tackle Eric Fisher not being able to play. That is the most important position on the offensive line. And then you fill in a couple of other spaces with some guys that maybe have 1 or 2 games of experience between them. what kind of game do you expect from this Chiefs offensive line, and what kind of opportunities does it open up for the Bucs pass rush?
Yeah, so the Kansas City's actually missing both of their tackles, their starting tackles that they started the season with. Mitchell Schwartz, who's one of the better right tackles in the NFL, went down. So, but the big thing is they've been without Schwartz for a while, and they've seemed to held up okay. But Fisher's a big loss because, like I said, missing both those tackles, man, that's not ideal, especially with such little time to prepare. It's going to have to be something that the Bucs pass rushers have to take advantage of, right? I'm not saying this Chiefs offensive line is all of a sudden going to become a turnstile, because I don't think they're just going to, completely collapse like that.
And I mean, you've also got Pat Mahomes, who can get the ball out
he
just
can
as
avoid
quickly
rushers.
as anybody.
Yeah. He can avoid rushers. He can really help his offensive line out. So it's not like you're playing, Drew Brees back there who's not going to scramble. He's going to sit in that pocket, or even Tom Brady, a guy that's just going to sit in the pocket and just be in that little area. No, Pat Mahomes is going to run all over the place. So that helps the offensive line. But the Bucs pass rushers are going to have to show up, especially Jason Pierre-Paul and Shaq Barrett. We've been saying it for how long? Right, and they did against Green Bay. So they're going to need to have probably even a better game, because this is a better offense that they're playing. So I'm not saying maybe production-wise, like when the box score, what did Shaq Barrett have, 3 sacks or whatever versus Green Bay? Yeah. I'm not saying Shaq Barrett has to have 4 or 5 sacks in this game. That's unrealistic. But what I'm saying is that when you watch the game, you can tell that Barrett's in it. He's constantly getting pressure, getting some sacks. Jason Pierre-Paul gets some pressures, gets some sacks. So I think that's going to be a big key in this game. And it's a huge loss for Kansas City. It's, I believe Mike Remmers is their backup tackle, who I guess he's trying to make the media is trying to make a storyline.
That's what the media week is for, man. That's what all these 45-minute press conferences are for.
Right. Yeah, they're trying to make a real story out of Jason Pierre-Paul not knowing who Mike Remmers was. But if you ask Jason Pierre-Paul in a midseason press conference who he's going up against, he doesn't know. That's just not the type of player he is. So.
And it's also been said that the Buccaneers do a lot of their film study and their research of other teams with numbers. Because when you're out there, it's a hell of a lot easier to just shout a number than it is to say somebody's full name.
Yeah, who cares about last name, right? Yeah. you don't hear Drew Brees go, Levante David's the Mike. 54. So I think a lot of they all say numbers.
Yeah.
Obviously they know, when they say 15, they know who you're talking about. Right, you're talking about Patrick Mahomes. When they say 10, you're talking about Tyreek Hill. But you got to cover 87. Who that is. But it's definitely going to be a big challenge for the Chiefs, and it's also going to be a area where the Bucs are going to have to step up. And I think if they don't, it's going to be ugly. Yeah. If they do, I think it could almost single-handedly win this game for them if they can get constant pressure. Because guess what? There's somebody in this matchup that wasn't in the last one. That's Vita Vea.
Yeah.
So he's going to be pushing the pocket right into Mahomes' face. And if those pass rushers can get around and not break contain, I think that's going to be a big key to keeping Mahomes in check there. And just don't let him scramble all over the place. Because once you give him the option to run, if the linebacker comes down, he just flips it to the running back, and it's a 10-yard pickup. So it'll definitely have to be a disciplined game, but I think it's one that Shaq Barrett and Jason Pierre-Paul are going to have to play well in.
Absolutely, and I think getting Vita Vea back at the absolute best time, it's no coincidence that Vita Vea comes back, plays 30-plus snaps in the NFC Championship game, and JPP and Shaq Barrett have 5 sacks between the two. I don't think it's a coincidence whatsoever. I think he adds another dimension to this pass rush, and I think it's something that Kansas City is definitely not going to be as prepared for as they think they are, just because, one, they didn't face Vita Vea in the last matchup that they had, and second half of the season, they really don't have a whole lot of film on the guy. Not that you need to break down a lot of film on Vita Vea, because he is just, a semi-truck in the middle of the line of scrimmage, but I think having him there definitely adds another level to this pass rush. Now, I want to talk about how these two teams compare as far as other people picking the way that this game plays out. I thought this was really interesting because we talked a little bit on it the last show, and the Buccaneers this season have picked up an underdog mentality. I don't think a lot of people pick the Bucs to be in the playoffs, but I think a lot of people right around when they were 7-5, were not liking those Super Bowl predictions, right? Am I right? I think a lot of people didn't expect the Bucs to run the table, win 7 in a row, and ultimately end up here in Super Bowl 55. But when you take all of the analysts, all of the experts, all of the talking heads on ESPN, all the people that you hear about, all the people that pick the games, and you tally them all together, it is a ratio of 69 picking the Chiefs and
Nice.
24 picking the Bucs. I mean,
Right.
almost 3 times as many people picking KC to win this game. And I just think it goes to show that, Tampa Bay has definitely adopted this underdog mentality, and I think for them to carry it into a game one more time, for our sake, it's a good story. But you also know that the guys, the Buccaneers, they don't really care. They don't. They're just there they're there to show up, do their job, and hopefully whoop some ass on Sunday. They don't care if they're getting picked or not. But I definitely think it's an interesting point because people are trying to make Kansas City an underdog for some reason, like the defending champions of the world or, some team that nobody's ever heard of. But just a 69-24 split like that is almost unheard of.
Yeah, I do believe that Kansas City should be favored, right? I mean, they're defending champs for a reason. I believe over their last 26 games, they're like 25-1 or something. You don't get that by accident. When the starters play, they're 25-1.
Yeah.
The last game of the year, they lost to the Chargers, but like none of their starters played. So, you don't win games in the NFL that many times by accident. So you're doing something right. They're coming off a Super Bowl victory. The year before that, they went to the AFC Championship game. So, I think they should be favored, but I do think that that's a little too lopsided.
Right.
Just maybe, if you had closer to 50-50, maybe 60-40, right? Like 65, 65,
Even if
65-35
it was like in the
kind of.
30s or something.
Yeah.
Like 65-35, 65-38, or just something to close that gap. But I mean, almost 40 votes? Like, yeah, that's 43 people. Like, that is, it's just, for a Super Bowl. Maybe if it was like a Monday night game between the Chiefs and, I don't know, the Giants, but it's the Super Bowl. It is the best in the NFC. It is the best in the AFC. And, I get that the Chiefs are favored, but all I'm trying to bring up is just it's an interesting stat, and I think the Bucs should continue to carry this underdog persona because we've seen a lot of underdogs prevail these past couple of years, especially in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, look at Philly.
Yeah.
They really to an extreme.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's going to show up wearing a dog mask into Ray J.
To the underdog mentality. But the interesting thing with Philly was they were the number 1 seed. They were that was the interesting thing. They were the number 1 seed, but they had all those injuries, so people really wrote them off. I think we were like 13-3 that year or something.
Yeah, Carson Wentz was, best year of his career until the injury, but they were just steamrolling people that season.
Yeah, they were the number 1 seed, and people were still like the Falcons in Philly were favored to win that game. Then what was it? It was the Falcons and then the Vikings, where the Vikings were favored to win that game.
They absolutely walloped Minnesota.
Yeah, and then the Patriots were favored to win the Super Bowl, and Philly really rose to the occasion and took it personally. And I think the Bucs are too, but like you said, they don't care, right? Like they don't care that they're being picked against or picked for. They don't really pay attention to that stuff. And I'm sure most of the Chiefs players are not paying attention to what ESPN said, right? Like,
right.
69 people picked us to win. Okay, cool. Like the Chiefs, they don't care, right? Like, yeah, I did think that. What was it? Was it Tyreek Hill?
It was Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce saying, I think people forgot who we are.
Dude, you're okay, whatever.
It's not like everybody and their mom picked the Chiefs to go 15-1 this year and end up in the Super Bowl again. You know what I mean? I
think either people were either picking you to go to the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl. So yeah, it's not like they were saying, oh, they can't. Well, what are you talking about? So, but I think the underdog mentality is definitely something that can be valuable. But like I said, I don't think that the players are really too worried about that. They have a job to do. They know what they have to do, and they're going to try their best to go out and do it.
We talked about it a little bit with Chris Gronkowski earlier, but you look at this game, 2 very high-powered offenses. A lot of people see shootout. Both teams putting up 30. I mean, maybe you see a repeat of that Monday Night Football game with Kansas City from a couple of years back. But ultimately, I think one thing is going to decide this football game, and I think it's going to be how the Buccaneers defense decides to show up and play. The last time they played Kansas City, it was a 3-point game. Kansas City didn't score over 30, neither did the Bucs. What was it, 27-24? Final score of that one. I think giving up 300 yards to one receiver in one half is definitely going to slow you down a little bit, but it's safe to say that Tyreek Hill is not going to run wild on this offense. And I think coming into this game for the defense, on this defense, you know what I meant to say. But I think coming into this game for the defense, priority number one is going to be Tyreek Hill. You look at the rest of the Kansas City offense, it's a bunch of weapons there. So you've got Tyreek Hill as priority number one. And then you're going to be looking at guys like Sammy Watkins and especially Travis Kelce, because, if Pat Mahomes doesn't have a receiver to throw to, Kelsey's going to find a way to get open. And he's a type of tight end, just like Gronk, where if he gets open and he's got a full head of steam, he's going to take one or two people with him.
Yeah, he's one of the more unique tight ends, and like I think like we talked about earlier, two future Hall of Famers, right?
Yeah.
Call about tight ends. So, it's so first quarter of the Week 12 game, right? I mean, down 17-0. The final score is kind of deceiving, right? Because I'm gonna sort of trash on the Bucs here for a minute, and people are gonna be going wild in the comments, but that game wasn't actually like a 3-point game. Like, it didn't feel like it was actually that close.
No, it wasn't.
The Chiefs really let up, I think, in the third and fourth quarter. They really took their foot off the gas offensively. I mean, they could have kept throwing the ball deep to Tyreek Hill if they wanted to, because the Bucs just seemed to have no answer for it. So I don't. It was a 3-point game, but it wasn't that close. It was 17-0 before you blinked an eye. And the Chiefs got obviously outscored 24-10, but the rest of the way. But like I said, it seemed like after they were up 17-0, they really took their foot off the gas. But then I will say, of course, not to go back to pro Bucs, this is a different Bucs team, and this is a different Bucs defense right now. So they have Jamel Dean back, which they didn't for that game. He's their fastest corner, so I suspect that I think Tyreek Hill could be seeing some of Jamel Dean, and then obviously Vita Vea back, which we talked about, and also it's a different offense. The Bucs offense in that first matchup, they have they had 4 drives and they picked up 1 first down on those 4 drives. It was very similar to the Saints game.
You also had 2 picks from Tom Brady, which I doubt you're going to see. Sunday.
But I'm talking about to start the game though.
Right.
To start the game, they had 4 drives and only 1 first down. It was like the Saints game in Tampa, except the only difference was the Chiefs were scoring explosively, right? Like they were scoring so quickly that the Bucs were able to get the ball back and just couldn't do anything with. So that's going to be important, right? But I think it's just a different Bucs offense. You're really seeing them trying to force the ball down the field. I don't know if you're going to see that anymore. So I think the Bucs really didn't seem prepared for a lot of the blitzes that Kansas City was going to throw at them. I think they'll be better prepared now, and I just think it'll be just a different game. I just think it'll be a different game. I think the score, regardless of whether the score is 3 points or whether it's more than 3 points, I think this game you'll come away from this game thinking, wow, that was a pretty close game. No matter who wins, whether the Bucs win, the Chiefs win, whatever, I think you'll come away from this game with saying, okay, that was a pretty close game. Whereas in Week 12, I can't wait for that thinking, it's 3 points, but did the Bucs,
Kansas City could have kept a 17-point lead if they really wanted to.
They could have won that game by 14, 17 points, yeah.
Now, one more thing I did want to bring up kind of briefly here, because I already did mention it a little bit, but you speak on the offense and the differences here. Obviously, the offense is rolling much better than they were Week 12. This was before the bye week, where everybody kind of took a deep breath and figured each other out. Tom Brady threw 2 picks that game. And I don't want to say that if he doesn't throw those 2 picks, the Bucs ultimately end up winning that game, just because we know that if the Chiefs wanted to really, put it on, they could have. But I definitely feel like it's, it feels much more like a 3-point game if you don't get those 2 picks, and I think those were very much the difference maker for Tampa.
The big thing, I'm not sure if you remember, both those picks were in field goal range.
Yeah.
So that's points.
Yep.
I think the first one was the Scotty Miller on that deep one, just underthrew it a little bit, and then the second one was the kind of the weird one, where it popped off of I think it was Donovan Smith's helmet, and it went up in the air for felt like 5 minutes, and of course the Chief just falls right into his, I think it was Rhett Matthew, fall right into his hands.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit of bad luck, but yeah, that can happen. especially against this Chiefs team. Yeah, the Bucks did force a turnover over Patrick Mahomes. They forced the fumble, which at the time the Chiefs were up 17-0, I believe, and they were going to make it 24-0 after that fumble.
Yeah.
The Chiefs don't turn the ball over much, and Tom Brady cannot turn the ball over in this game. I mean, I'm not even once. I think he has to play very well, and rightfully so. This Chiefs offense is so difficult to stop. Don't give them more chances, right? There's no reason, do not give them more chances than you have to. So I think the Bucs themselves are going to have to play a really clean game. And yeah, those turnovers, they can't happen. And what you've been seeing is they really haven't happened except for in the Green Bay game. So, you can't have 3 picks. If you have 3 picks, the Chiefs are going to win. I'll tell you that right now. So because Mahomes isn't going to throw 3 picks on the other end.
Yeah.
I do think that Tom Brady's going to have to play a clean game. I think he's going to have to play turnover free. And I think right now, I think you have to trust him. You have to trust him to be able to do that because he's shown that he's able to do that.
Yeah. Now, if you're in a position as well on defense and you come up with a takeaway, well, you better believe you're going to have to get 7. You cannot settle for a field goal.
Yeah, not field unless it's the end of the game and you're tied and you're going for the win. Then you can settle for a field goal. But yeah, that's the only if it's 4th and 2 on your own, on their 10-yard line, you better not be kicking it. You better be going because you're not gonna win kicking field goals.
Oh, yeah. No way. But I wanted to bring up that defense and their ability to force turnovers because, believe it or not, the Buccaneers have 7 takeaways in the playoffs. They lead the NFL by a pretty good margin. And you're going to lean on that a lot on Sunday night. We talk about this defensive identity and, this, revamped pass rush with Vita Vea coming back and even more reasons to get more pressures on Patrick Mahomes. Pat Mahomes isn't a guy who's going to make mistakes, but it doesn't matter if it's Pat Mahomes or Ryan Leaf under center. If you pressure a quarterback, they're going to throw an interception. And I think the Bucs defense knows that. Yeah. And you're ultimately going to want to force a mistake that you can take advantage of. But I think a pass rush from a team that's top 5 in pressures, I think they can force a mistake. And, that's the play that's ultimately going to be the difference maker in this one. If it's a turnover one way or the other, you're going to look to that defense to step up and kind of lean on their ability to force some turnovers this Sunday.
Yeah, and obviously also bend, don't break.
Yeah.
Look, the Chiefs are going to get yards. I mean, they are. They're going to push the ball down the field. They're going to move the ball on you. I think, there's not many defenses in the NFL that can stop it. And I think the big thing is, 3. And for the Bucs, it's 7 instead of 3. For the Bucs defense, it's 3 instead of 7. So, especially if you're coming off of a turnover, like if Brady would throw a pick or there's a fumble or something goofy happens, that can be demoralizing to a defense, right? The Chiefs get the ball on your own 20-yard line, they just throw a touchdown pass, but if you hold them to 3, that can give you a little bit more energy. The offense kind of goes, phew, all right, well, that could have been a lot worse, right? Yeah. So let's go out and let's correct it. So I think it's important for the Bucs defense to bend, don't break. And they actually did that on the first drive for Kansas City. Kansas City went down the field on them pretty easily, and they were able to force a field goal, but then the Bucs offense just couldn't do anything on the next drive. So it's going to be important to really limit what the Chiefs' touchdowns, obviously. It sounds simple, but don't let them score touchdowns. Like it sounds simple, but it's going to be important to do that and play a really clean game on offense.
Absolutely. Before we get into the weekly checklist, I want to do a little bit of a little bit of something different. It's Super Bowl show. Let's just try some stuff and see what sticks. But let's talk about some X factors for this game. A player on either side of the ball that can absolutely just change the momentum of the game at any given notice. And a guy on the Chiefs defense that I'm going to be watching, and I'm sure a lot of people have talked about, but it's going to be that safety Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger. He is the guy on that defense who can pretty much make a play from anywhere on the field. He is athletic. He is quick. He loves the game of football, and he's just the guy that you have to watch out for. I mean, Tom Brady had a lot of great things to say about him this week. He had a pick against the Bucs, even though it was kind of the weird deflection. He still has an interception against Tom Brady this season, so you bet your ass he's going to be looking for another one on Sunday, but that's the guy that I think Tom Brady is going to have the toughest job of trying to, keep an eye on where he is at all times.
Yeah, that dude is special. And I think obviously Bruce Arians and Todd Bowles know it. Bruce Arians had said, this week that it's his favorite player that he's ever drafted. It's like it's his favorite draft pick. And I think the story Because the story really relates to Bruce Arians. How Tyrann Mathieu got in some trouble, got kicked out. Cardinals took a shot on him, and it worked out. And I do know that the Bucs had some interest in Matthew when he became a free agent, when Bruce Arians was his first year, but unfortunately the Bucs just didn't have the money, and the Chiefs were able to offer him more. So it's unfortunate, but yeah, I mean, he's a heck of a football player, and like you said, he's the best player in that secondary, and I think that's the one player that Tom Brady's gonna have a tough time fooling. He just brings so much energy, right? You can tell he's like he's the alpha male. So yeah, it's definitely gonna be a challenge, I think, to try and throw him off, because he's and right now he's playing great. So he's a great player, and he's in his prime. So that's gonna be a key to the game. I think. I'm not sure if the Bucs completely avoid him, but I think that it would be wise to not exactly throw his way a whole ton.
Oh, yeah. Is there anybody else for the Chiefs, whether it's offense, defense, that you see being a potential difference maker?
Yeah, Ladarius Sneed was their rookie corner. He's been really good this season. He's been like one of the best defensive rookies, just a stud, I think. And I'm sorry, it's Legarius, not Ladarius. My bad. Anyways, yeah, it's he's been awesome. I'm not really a big fan of Pro Football Focus, but he was the number one rookie defensive back in the NFL according to Pro Football Focus. So he's been a big reason their defense has had success, and I think he's going to be a big key. Obviously, Chris Jones, too, on the defensive line. So those are just the two players, I think. A lot of the other players are, honestly, role players that just do their role very well. The stars are Sneed, Matthew, Chris Jones, but then the other guys they have are role players that know their role, and they do it excellent. So, that's pretty much it. Chiefs defense is pretty cut and dry, but it works.
Absolutely. Every single week here on the Game Preview Show, we wrap things up with a little thing called the Weekly Checklist. And what it is, I put together a list of 3 things that this Bucs team is going to need to do if they want to come out victorious on Sunday against the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Evan, if at any time you have anything you want to add to the list, you just let me know, friendo. First things first, keep it all in front of you on defense. I think the Chiefs have plenty of players on that offense who can peel the top off of this defense, and they can burn a lot of guys for a big play. I think priority number 1 is going to be trying to slow down a guy like Tyreek Hill, who personally, I think they're going to do a good job of doing. I just also think Travis Kelce is going to get 130 yards receiving in the process. But if you can do a good job of stopping those guys from making big plays over the top of your head, I think this defense is fast enough to the football to where they can slow down a lot of those plays before they develop. And I mean, come on, dude, it's Pat Mahomes and the rest of that offense. They're going to make some plays. And I mean, even if you expect Pat Mahomes, he'll have JPP, Vita Vea, Shaq Barrett breathing down his neck, and I'm sure he'll break the pocket and make a play along the sideline. That's just what we've seen him do. But do a good job of slowing that offense down. I think one of the biggest things you have to do is just to keep it all in front of you. And if they do that, I think they should be cush throughout the evening. Number 2, kind of goes hand in hand with what the defense needs to do. You got to win the battle at the line of scrimmage. And I guess this goes for, the offense and the defense. As far as the offense, we didn't get into a lot of detail, but this run game, whether you're going to have Leonard Fournette kind of take the majority of the carries, or you're going to see Ronald Jones, you're going to see both of those running backs. You're going to see the rotation that they've stuck with throughout the playoffs. I really think you do. It'd be refreshing to see, Ronald Jones get 15 carries out of the gate, but I don't think it happens that way. With that being said, winning the battle at the line of scrimmage is going to be critical. I mean, on defense, that defensive line, it starts with Vita Vea, and we know that he is a guy who can win the battle all by himself. But it just opens up things for the rest of the pass rush. It opens up more lanes. If you're sending Devin White up the gut, send him up the gut full steam ahead. Don't have him stop and wait for a blocker on the way. Bring the pressure to Pat Mahomes, and it starts with winning the battle at the line of scrimmage. The last thing that I've got on my list has to do with the offense. You got to play a clean game. No mistakes, no turnovers, no stupid penalties. Don't shoot yourself in the foot. But I want to highlight no turnovers because, normally you're not going to get them back. But when you're playing a team like Kansas City, if you turn the ball over, it's a 99% chance you're going to be giving up points. That's just the way that I feel. And, any mistakes in this game, you're not going to be able to get back because, like it or not, there is not another game after this.
Right. I mean, this is it, right? If you want to push all the chips on the table, this is the one. Yeah. This is guaranteed the last game. So,
yeah. Do you have anything you wanted to add to the checklist this week?
No, it's a pretty good checklist. I mean, I think obviously, like you said, Tyreek Hill, you can't go into with the same game plan.
Yeah.
Having really no safety help over the top. So it's so difficult because if you play man against the Chiefs, that's where a guy like Tyreek Hill, McCole Hardman, and Samuel Watkins, that's where they kill you. But if you play zone, that's where Travis Kelce just finds the open hole and he just sits there. And it's a 10, 15-yard gain. And they'll do that consistently. They don't care. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm interested to see the game plan on defense there. Obviously, a big key thing, like you said, the trench play. The Bucs offensive line was very meh the first time they played the Chiefs, and the Bucs offensive line has been very good post-bye week. So that's going to be a big key. And then, obviously, like you said, we talked about it, right? No turnovers. They just can't stress it enough that, against this Chiefs team, they're going to capitalize. They are. And if the Bucs get a turnover on defense, they have to capitalize. Because the Chiefs aren't going to be giving it away much. So if they do, when they do, you're going to have to really, really make sure that it turns into some form of points.
Absolutely. Let's do some score predictions and get the hell out of here. I know we talked about it a lot, and I'm sure people are tired of hearing it, but you look at this game and you think shootout. I think this is a game that'll be decided by what kind of defense shows up for Tampa Bay, and I think if that defense shows up, they're going to keep Kansas City in check. I don't think they're going to put up over 30 if this defense plays the way that we want them to. I think it's a close game. I think the last team to have the ball is who's going to win this one. And with that being said, I'll make my pick. I know it's a huge shocker here, but I've got Tom Brady getting ring number 7 in his 10th Super Bowl appearance. The Buccaneers get their second franchise Lombardi, and they do it all in Raymond James Stadium. I think they come out victorious 27-24, the same exact score as their last matchup. But I got Tampa Bay on top.
Both teams under 30. Huh?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's a big shocker, right?
Who would have thought I was going to pick the Bucs this week?
I actually would have been, people would have seen my face if you picked the Chiefs. I would have been absolutely shocked.
Just want to throw this out there. I don't want it to sway your decision making at all, but I might have gotten a couple of verbal threats on Twitter this week regarding you picking the other team. So just think about that. But don't let it affect you. I mean, that's not a threat.
They're threats towards you, not me. So I don't care.
With that said, Chiefs by 50.
With that said, Chiefs are going to run them. Anyways, look, I mean, this is why you bring Tom Brady here. It's 10th Super Bowl. Rob Gronkowski's 6th place, we just talked about with Chris. I mean, I think this game, everybody's, either I haven't seen many that are in the 20s. So, I mean, both teams in the 20s. So kudos to you. But I think I've seen most people having, if the Chiefs win or Bucs win, one team in the 30s and the other in the 20s.
You see a lot of 31-28s.
Yeah, I think both teams. Well, that's because the line's 3.
Yeah,
that's why. I think both teams are going to be over 30. I think this is going to be a true shootout, and I think maybe not the team with the ball. Maybe not the team that has the ball last will win, but I think maybe this defense, the defense that I'm going to refer to here when I pick my winner, the defense makes one play towards the end of the game, right? Maybe the offense has the ball and a chance to win the game, but the defense makes one play, whether it's a turnover, whether it's fourth down, not converted, something like that. So with that being said, I can't, you can't actually pick against them. You can't pick against the Bucs at this point, right? They've gone so far.
You're the type of guy, I mean, you've always said, I'll believe it when I see it. And in this year, I think you've seen a little bit of everything.
I've seen a little bit of everything, right? We've seen old Bucs, right? Week 9, that was old Bucs. And then, we've seen new Bucs these last, 7 weeks or so. So, I think the Bucs are going to win 35-31. I think Tom Brady is going to be their Super Bowl MVP after he throws 3 touchdown passes, over 300 yards, and no interceptions. So do you have a prediction on Super Bowl MVP?
Oh, man. I feel
I know I'm putting you on the spot. But...
No, you're good. I mean, I've spent a little bit of time thinking about it. I'd like to say that if the defense makes that one big play, we get a defensive MVP, just in the true nature of Bucs in the Super Bowl. But I ultimately feel like it's going to be Tom Brady. Unless Leonard Fournette has like 150 yards on the ground, I don't think it'll be any other offensive player than TB12. And I think if he goes out there, he plays his brand of football, and they come out victorious, I think it'll ultimately be Brady.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very difficult for a defensive player to win.
Yeah.
I know that Dexter Jackson had won with the Bucs, so that's a defensive player. But like, man, it's just so difficult for a defensive player to win the MVP. Maybe if Jamel Dean has like an interception and it's like a pick six,
like
it
the
seems
pick
like
six to seal it or something.
Right, yeah, like you have to, like, it seems like you have to make, like, if you have like an interception, it has to be like multiple interceptions. Like Dexter Jackson had 2 in that game.
Yeah.
But it seems like you have, well, for one, you have to have it early because they don't vote on the MVP at the end of the game. They do it like midway through a third quarter or something, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think for both teams in the event that, I'm pretty sure it's something like that. I don't think they vote right at the end of the game. So, yeah, I think it's earlier than that. So, yeah, it's weird. Like, so Jamel Dean, if he has a pick, if it's like a pick six, and like that's the one that like really like wins it, and it's like clear, maybe like he would win or something. But yeah, it seems like if you're a defensive player, you got to play really, really well, or it's got to be a scoring play. I remember when the Seahawks Super Bowl against Denver, Malcolm Smith, I think that was his name, the linebacker. Who had that pick six on Peyton Manning. He won Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah.
So that's the big splash play that you need on defense. But yeah, I think Tom Brady's a pretty safe bet. If the Bucs are going to win this game, I think it's because of Tom Brady, and I think in that case, Brady would be a safe bet to win MVP.
Hey, I mean, it is an exciting thought thinking about a defensive player winning MVP. It's safe to say that there are plenty of playmakers on this Bucs defense. But ladies and gentlemen, that's it. That's going to do it. It's our final game preview show of the year. It is in the books, and we're not going to talk to you guys again until after the big game.
Yeah, so it could be, obviously, Sunday night we might go live. We'll see after the game.
I mean, if they win on Sunday night, I'm definitely going live. You're welcome to join me if you'd like, or we can do a regular show the next day, which we'll probably end up doing. But if they are victorious,
either way,
110% if they win, I'm going live. I'm taking calls, man.
Okay, yeah, I'm just saying it'll be like midnight by that time, but
yeah.
So
we'll be up. The city will be up. Don't worry, it'll be on fire, but we'll be awake.
Well, I'm in Pennsylvania, so yeah, so we'll definitely have obviously that if they win, but then we'll have the game review show no matter what. Even if they win, yeah, we'll go live on Sunday night, but then we'll also have a game review, which will be a little more formal, kind of. And then we'll have our season review, which we'll look at pretty much every game, talk about a little bit about every game. It's one of the longer. We do a season prediction show at the beginning of the year, and then at the end we do a season review where we talk about every game and sort of what went wrong, what went right, what was the turning point, who played well, who didn't, so, and any memories we have of that game. So really look forward to that. And then after that we got a full off season, but just cherish this moment right now, and because you never know when it could be. It could be another 20 years from the Bucs are in this moment again. We don't know. So enjoy this weekend. It's one of a kind, and don't know if you're ever going to see the Bucs play in Raymond James Stadium for the Super Bowl ever again, right? Yeah. I mean, it's 55 years of the Super Bowl, so this is the first time it's ever happened. Like, it's not likely. So just really cherish this moment and just enjoy the game, right? I mean, I know it would be disappointing if the Bucs lose, but man, you made it to the big dance. And after all, the pain and suffering that you've been through over the years, the fact that they've made it here already has made this season a absolute success.
Without a doubt. Ladies and gentlemen, check out the show on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All of those are Cannon Fire Podcast. Best place to go for updates on the show, and of course, Buccaneer news as it happens. Speaking of Bucs news as it happens, you can follow my co-host on Instagram at Bucs_daily, the #1 Buccaneers fan page on Instagram. You can also find him on Twitter at EvanNFL. Last but not least, you can find myself, Instagram and Twitter at Rhettakus, RHETTAKUS. If you follow me, I will follow you back. So, this is it. Super Bowl 55 in just a couple of days as we wrap up our game preview show. Anxiously awaiting the biggest game in probably Buccaneer history. I mean, definitely the most at stake. And you think about the stage that has been set.
I would say
Super Bowl.
probably second biggest. I'll say that.
Is it going to be hard
just
to...
because it's gonna be hard to top their first Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, just because it ended, 25, 30 years of being at the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, I think it was their first time ever in it. I think it's going to be pretty hard to top that.
Absolutely.
Unless there's like a storybook finish here where, Tom Brady throws a touchdown to Rob Gronkowski, or I'd like it to be like Mike Evans or something with zeros on the clock and the Bucs win. Then maybe, but we'll see.
Oh man, I can't wait, ladies and gentlemen.
Can you imagine your anxiety really quick before we go?
No, I don't want to.
It's like 34. It's like 34-30 Chiefs. 9 seconds left. The Bucs have the ball on like the 10-yard line. No timeouts.
Bucs have the ball at the 10-yard line with 10 seconds left. They're getting a touchdown. Like something about the Bucs in the red zone this year gives you a good feeling. Once they're there, they can usually get the job done.
All right. That's your bold prediction. So if that exact situation,
my bold prediction: if the Bucs are in the red zone, they're going to score.
No, if it's 34-30 and there's 9 seconds left, if that exact thing happens, that's his prediction right there.
Okay, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. If that exact thing happens, you remember where you heard it first. I think it's about time we wrap this thing up. We've gone on a little bit too long, but I'll tell you, for our final game preview show of the year, it has been a damn good one. Thank you to Rob Gronkowski. Thank you to my co-host Evan Wanish, and of course,
Chris Gronkowski.
Yes, I'm sorry. Wow, now I feel terrible. All right. I guess that's just a sign that we need to get off here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to the show this season. We will talk to you after the game on Sunday. Win, lose, or draw. Always remember, go Bucs.